Hello, you've read the title. Anti-Clockwise, or Anti-Clockwise, is a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game released in 2023 by Panpie. And while the screenshots look really good, and the game itself looks really good as well, something is missing, and you'll see what I mean shortly. But first, it's lore time! The game's opening cutscene starts with an animatronic standing in the snow. Someone speaks to them, asking if Thomas can see how much they care, that Thomas has been set free, and that it's his world now. If only his mother could see him now, she would surely smile. I'm unsure if Thomas is the animatronic or if the one speaking is the animatronic, but I'll assume it's Thomas. Regardless, the one speaking tells Thomas that they love them, and that they should brighten things up with a smile. Sweet dreams, yada yada. Title reveal, Anti-Clockwise, baby. Selecting new game throws you right into the office, or, well, the tent, as we're apparently inside of a tent. You have a big desk in front of you with the obligatory cute little Fredbear collectible. You know, you can press on its nose and it'll make a noise. A staple, really. There is a CRT monitor and a big vent thingy behind us, which unfortunately we become quite acquainted with. There's a FNAF 3 styled monitor that we can open on our left hand side, as well as a regular old camera system, but you know, more on that soon. In this game we get to play as the new security guard / maintenance clerk for Bark's Sunny Beach Summer Camp. One thing this game does right straight out of the gate is that there's a phone call. Unfortunately though, you can barely hear it, and there's no way of turning it up. Phone Guy welcomes us and walks us through the functions of our two monitors, stating that the FNAF 3 panel that's on our far left displays a camera that's situated outside of our tent, where, and I quote, apparently Rep likes to move around. Who the fuck is Rep? Don't worry, all will be revealed in due time, and when I say due time, I mean now. Apparently, the two main stars of the show are Bark the Beaver and Rep the Alligator, both of which have been decommissioned for quite some time now. This happened because there was a big controversy a few summers ago. That controversy being, I'm not sure, but it's FNAF, so you know, probably death and just general dismay. I doubt Rep was tweeting slurs or anything. Phone Guy explains that apparently Bark's Sunny Beach Summer Camp, it's a mouthful, used to go the old costume route with their mascots rather than the, reliable that we're so used to. I don't get why these companies always ditch the costumes. They're cheaper if, you know, you don't practice fair labor laws, and there's far less death involved, which I assume's a positive. Anyways, after something happened with the robots, they are now back to costumes, hence why the animatronics were decommissioned. Phone Guy reveals that Fazbear Entertainment, of course, bought up Bark's Sunny Beach Summer Camp around 10 years ago now, and that since then, the business has been booming. Let's do the maths here. So you got fun, happy summer camp thing, and then Fazbear Entertainment gets their grubby little mitts on it, and then suddenly everyone's dying. I mean, to be fair, death wasn't even mentioned. I kind of just jumped to conclusions, but come on. But hey, it's cool to know that they take place in the same universe, I guess. Phone Guy then pulls the whole shtick about,
actually, I was joking about the animatronics. They don't move around.
Except this time, he might actually not be joking, as apparently they're chained up in some storage unit. They have these motherfuckers posed up like Aaron was in the underground chapel. Oh, wait, no, apparently he's just full of shit, as some employees apparently heard footsteps and, quote, servos clicking and pistons firing up all around them. Anyways, it turns out that camera panel on the side is actually named the Rep camera, which displays the feed from a camera situated outside of our tent. On this panel, we can click and hold to phase the animatronic, which I'll explain more on soon, as well as toggle the ventilation system and monitor the tent's temperature. Now, for the majority of that phone call, I heard basically none of it while playing the game, other than the last line, which tells us to unload boxes from the delivery truck. Basically, our main job here is to unload boxes into the vent behind us by clicking and holding on the vent. This takes roughly 7 seconds per box. Thankfully, we don't have that many to do. See this here? That's how many boxes we have to unload, which means just sitting and staring at the vent for literally the entire night. This is the only way to progress. Now, due to me not hearing the phone call, I wasn't entirely sure if there were any animatronics active this night, and I kept shining the flashlight around and checking the rep cam just to be safe, but as far as I can tell, no one's active. Which isn't a bad thing. It allows us to, you know, familiarize ourselves with the mechanics and the controls, which is always welcome. One thing I actually want to mention are the graphics. The office looks really good and the UI is well designed as well, containing a lot of information, but in a way that didn't make me feel instantly overwhelmed. Even the cameras look amazing. Unfortunately though, we, you know, don't really get to see them, as there is literally zero need to use the cameras at all during this game. I mean, there's one thing that you need them for later, but you don't even use the cameras themselves for it. It's just a button that's located in the camera panel, kind of like how you can access the ventilation system from the rep camera, even though they aren't connected at all. Now, sometimes after you finish unloading a box, the monitor in front of you will give you a notification, stating that we must print a receipt. Simply click yes, and then boom, you're back to box packing. Okay. Something else I should probably talk about is this little number down here. This indicates your toxicity meter, which gets higher over time, or whenever you finish unloading a box. To counteract this, you must put on your gas mask, which you can use by clicking on the button at the top of the screen. And after you unload all 20 boxes, the first night officially concludes. And it took me about 20 minutes, by the way. That's kind of a me issue. You know, it doesn't take that long to unload the boxes, but I was like, someone's there. There wasn't anyone there. They've lied to you. A monster is lurking in the shadows. All it takes is one bad day. And ooh, holy shit, what an angle. Before us stands an animatronic, and we're prompted to press on its lower abdomen. Destroy all the evidence inside, it says. In order to destroy all the evidence inside, we must first open up this metal hatch in front of us. To do so, we have to unscrew these 4 corner screws, which is fine and dandy, but it kind of took me a while to realize you need to do that. I mean, that was my first thought, obviously, but the screws don't actually have an animation when they're being unscrewed. So, you know, I was clicking on them and nothing was happening, so obviously I moved on, but no, you just have to be a little bit patient and eventually they will unscrew. Next, it will ask if you want to proceed with the hacking, and okay, I hold my hands up on this one. I thought, oh, it's a yes-no answer. It'll probably, if I select no, it'll probably jump scare me and then I'll get another chance to do it. It'll be a funny moment for the No, I just died and I didn't really get a chance to. Also, forgot to mention, there is a tips screen on the main menu where the game gives you information about each threat. I love when games do this. This is a big help. Something you might notice though about this screen is that there's only 3 animatronics, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Heading into night 2 is pretty much more of the same. Phone guy says hello and basically goodbye, but there is one more important thing. Randomly throughout the night, some alarms will sound. Not sure why, but they will. When this happens, you need to open up the camera monitor and click on the reboot button in the bottom right. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the only thing you need the cameras for in the entire game. Now, this flashing alarm is actually a fairly big problem, as it will completely disable the rep camera, meaning if rep shows up, then for all intents and purposes, you're dead. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about rep. You may have noticed this new little icon thingy on our interface. That's titled Rep's Anger Level. I don't know why he's angry, but he is. Basically, this bar will suddenly fill all the way up, meaning that Rep is angry and he's gonna get ya. When this happens, simply open the rep camera and hold down on the screen to phase him. And then he's gone. Yes, that's literally all you have to do. Rep is only ever a problem when RNG decides to fuck you over. But other than that, he's not even remotely an issue. Just watch that bar fill up and phase him when it's full. Speaking of, I don't quite understand the bar either. It'll randomly fill up like 1 bar for no reason and then it'll go back down. Then, when he's ready to attack, it will fill all the way back up again. Not sure if there's a pattern that I'm missing or not, but oh well. I mean, Rep seems like a cool character. I mean, his design is kind of cool. He kind of looks like a Nightmare Monty or something, but he just barely does anything. I feel as though the solution to this would be to just scrap the rep panel entirely, instead integrating it into the main camera system. And instead of rep just showing up in the same place every time, you know, on the rep panel, instead he could appear on a random camera, therefore actually giving the player an excuse to use the monitor and look at all the different cameras, because they look good. And the rep anger meter could be given a different purpose entirely. Maybe it could, it could gradually fill up as he moves closer to the player's location on the cameras. And if you don't look at him or, look at him enough, then his anger bar could go quicker, like up more. I don't know, I'm basically just describing a knockoff Foxy mechanic, but there's options. And instead of the rep camera, there could be a FNAF 3 kind of panel where you'd reboot the camera system, toggle events, and, monitor the temperature. Because, I don't really understand why the ventilation and the temps are all confined within the rep camera. Those are just my thoughts though, so I don't know, do with that what you will. Now next up is Bark the Beaver, the second character in this game. Bark shows up at either the left or the right side of the room, and you have to flash him. Or in my experience, just even shine your light loosely in his general direction and he will leave. Oh, sorry, you didn't see him? Don't worry, I'll slow it down a little bit. Yep. that's all he does. I mean, sometimes when he appears, you'll see a little more of him than other times, but you usually don't. And aside from that, nothing else really happened this night. I want to take a moment here also to say, like, I know I've been a little bit negative so far, and sorry about that. I do want to preface though that I don't think this game is bad. The developer is clearly super talented and knows their way around game design. I just think there are some choices that were made that don't completely make sense to me, and I could be wrong. Yell at me if you want. I could be being stupid right now. I probably am, knowing my track record. But my number one main issue is the box mechanic. I feel like everything else could be overlooked if the box mechanic just was something else. It completely takes away any sense of suspense or exploration that other FNAF games have. Watching the cameras, anticipating the characters' movements, you know? But in this game, you don't really have that. Because, you know, you don't need to use the cameras. It just makes the night take longer. Either you can beat the night in a couple of minutes and, you know, advance the game, or you can go sightseeing and add an extra 5 minutes on. Like, you don't get to see the cameras naturally. And unfortunately, the end result just leaves you staring at a cardboard box for the entire game. And after I finished the game, I decided to boot it back up and look through the cameras to see what was actually there. Now, this is what kind of annoys me. It looks good! Like, the camera angles, the light, like, it looks good! There's even a light function, like, you can turn the light on the camera, like, and see more. You know, a flashlight. It's like, please explain to me why we don't get to see it. I know I just sound like a broken record, but we have this beautifully designed game and 99% of the time we're staring at a cardboard box. Anyways, night 2 ends and thankfully we have another chance to do this minigame thing. This time with Rep. If you recall, the last animatronic was Bark the Beaver. After pressing on the lower abdomen to start, we once again have to unscrew the unmoving screws. And this time, thankfully, I selected yes on the hacking thing. 8 buttons are arranged in front of you. Recreate the... Fuck! I suck at these games. Basically, it's a pattern recognition minigame. I really don't like these. I'm horrible at them. Something that I also hate is Toy Freddy. Please comment that you hate Toy Freddy as well, because it makes me happy. You know, United Front and all that. Anyways, while you're trying to memorize the sequence so you can recognize the pattern in the pattern recognition game, you also have to turn around and monitor the animatronic vitals. Because of course you do. When they get low, you have to click and hold this little button on the side to refill the bars. However, while doing this, the pattern sequence keeps going. It doesn't pause. I didn't know this, and obviously I come back to a puzzle that's halfway through its sequence. I can't memorize anything if I didn't see it. This is my fault. I probably should have been a little quicker with the vitals, as I kinda just refilled them entirely when it's probably better to do it in small increments. So, you know, you can multitask. I hold my hands up on this one. This is a me problem, not a game problem. Anyways, inevitably, I fucking lose because I suck at this. And boom, night 3, baby. Phone guy chimes in to... Nope, it's just scary sound effects and gurgly nonsense. Okay, he's probably dead. Immediately, the best thing to do is to start unloading the boxes, as you can get through them fairly quickly if you just hard focus them. As you may remember, earlier I mentioned the ventilation as well as a temperature system. Don't panic, I didn't forget. Basically, if the tent's temperature gets too high, you don't want that, you probably die. To counter this, you can turn on the ventilation fan, which will lower the temperature, but in exchange, your toxicity meter will go up a lot quicker. Obviously, to counter this, you just gotta flip your mask down every so often, you know. That's the mask noise. Which, by the way, I really like this mechanic. I can't explain why it's just a simple resource management thing, but it's cool. Anyways, not much happens on night 3. Yada yada, Bark shows up a few times, shine him even slightly and he will leave. But I think now might be a good time to give my thoughts on Bark, / how I think he could be improved. Obviously, I'm not a professional or anything whatsoever. Take what I say with a bit of, oh, he might be stupid, but I feel like a simple but efficient change to Bark would be to force you to hold your flashlight on him, much like Rat in Five Nights at Candy's 3. But instead of appearing once on either side in front of you, what if he could appear behind you as well? See, the wall behind us with the vent on it actually allows you to look around and shine your light either side, but to my knowledge, nothing ever shows up there. It'd be cool if maybe Bark could show up on your front left, for example. You'd have to hold your light on him for a few seconds, and then maybe he could rush behind you, and you have to repeat the process. I know that doesn't sound like a huge change, but those few seconds could ruin everything if Rep decides to attack, or if the mystery character that shows up later decides to appear. It's about adding an extra nuisance to hinder your progress, and at the moment, Bark is very, very far from that. Even if he appears while you're loading your boxes, you still have time to turn around and flash him. Well, flash is a strong word, you just turn your light on and shake it around the screen for a bit and it'll get him, but you know what I mean. Anyways, night 3 ends, and something else I realized. Why is there a 6 AM screen? We beat the game by unpacking boxes, not by surviving till 6 AM.
I watched you die. Breathe your last breath.
This time we're abdomen height with a super secret character who is yet to appear. Clicking on his abdomen, per usual, results in... Oh, I don't think you like that. The next thing you know, we are face to face with an arcade cabinet. A lost soul, or more likely a body, is on the screen. I can't lie, this next part was probably my favorite part. It was really cool. My jaw was just floored. It was actually pretty scary. It throws us into a point and click adventure, as these games often do. Our objective reads, find the key and keypad code. Heading forward situates us right in front of the keypad. However, we are without the code. So, you know, if we turn around and search the drawer behind us, it reveals a set of keys with a tag on them. This tag has the code on it, so, you know, lucky us. One small thing, I don't know if this was maybe intentional, but I can't press 8 on the keypad. It just makes me back out and I get the code wrong because the 8 on the keypad is behind the back arrow thingy. Why? Why? Maybe this was intentional because once you get the code wrong, you are greeted with one of the most terrifying things I've seen recently in a FNAF fan game, and I am all for it.
What are you doing down here, bud? You know you aren't supposed to go through Daddy's workshop. Go upstairs, please.
The game presents us with 2 options in response.
What's this?
And
Why are you hiding? Can I see you?
the second one piqued my interest because why is he hiding behind this Billy Bob ass animatronic?
No. You can't see me like this. Do you want to see what this thing does, though?
Okay, that was pretty cool. Maybe I should be like, ah! But considering I was playing this game in the pitch dark, this scared the ever-loving fuck out of me. For me, this section in particular does something I don't think a lot of fan games are able to do. It reminds me a little bit of Banshee. The way they stare directly into your soul, this dude does it too, and I hate it. I love it, but I hate it. Unfortunately, we go from that super cool, interesting section to just unloading boxes again because boy, it's night 4 time, and we have to unload 31 boxes. But thankfully, night 4 sees the addition of a brand new character. Yes, it's the one we've all been waiting for. It's, drumroll please, the Ancient One. Who the f is this? I'm only showing you what he looks like now because outside of his jump scare, you don't actually see him. Pretty sure it's like a Springtrapified Golden Freddy, which could make sense since, you know, this company is owned by Fazbear Entertainment. Anyways, the Ancient One will make footstep noises here and there, as indicated by the sound icon in the bottom corner. I suppose this is him getting closer to the player's location. Basically, this isn't a problem whatsoever until you see it rapidly blinking. And even then, you have about 10 seconds to deal with him, so, you know. Before you start night 4, the game says that everything you do makes noise, which will lure him to you. I personally didn't notice a difference in the Ancient One's activation compared to when I was trying to be loud versus when I was trying to be quiet, so who knows. Anyways, once the Ancient One appears, you must pull down your gas mask to convince him that you aren't there. Honestly, I think the Ancient One is fine, but my only note would be that if sound is, you know, his main thing, then make it so he actually gets angry when you make noise, like Music Man in Ultimate Custom Night. Here's a good example, actually. As soon as I start to unload a box, Rep begins his attack alongside the Ancient One. Both of these things happen as soon as I start unpacking the box, so by the time the long-ass animation finishes, not only do I have time to finish unloading the box, as you can't cancel the animation, but I also have time to counter Rep and the Ancient One. Also, it's kind of hard to tell when the Ancient One attacks, as he kind of just groans and the lights flicker a little bit. It'd be cool if you could maybe see him wander across the screen or something, I don't know. But yeah, like I said earlier, just keep an eye out on the interface and you can't lose. Although, actually, night 5 was the first time I died. I don't think this was a difficulty thing, I think I just got really unlucky. The rep camera went down as soon as I started unloading a box, and then the ancient one decided to show up. However, while I'm waiting for the ancient one to leave, rep also decides to begin his advance. But because of the ancient one, I couldn't get away to reboot the rep camera. So, you know, by the time I was actually able to reboot it, I was already dead. I'll admit, night 5 was the first night that actually made me do any form of thinking. I actually had to put together a bit of a plan in my head to beat it rather than just rolling with the punches. Best strategy I found was to do 3 to 4 boxes and then sit and wait for each of the animatronics to attack. As you know, they either all happened at the same time or one after another. Then once they all had their turn, I'd start with the boxes again and boom! 6 AM, night 5. The ending cutscene shows a newspaper clipping that reads, Stella in Kids Entertainment Evan Cliff found guilty of second-degree murder. Not sure if I should be aware of who that is, but that's cool. The game ends with a familiar arcade cabinet, this time with a severed Bark the Beaver head laying on the checkered floor. The game cuts to black before showing the end. Important to note that this is the bad ending. I think the way you get the good ending is by, you know, actually winning the post-night minigames, but I suck at those and I don't really feel like trying for the good ending. Although I did look it up and the good ending cutscene didn't make much sense to me either. I'll just play it out for you. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. If there's any lore enthusiasts that want to let me know, then please do. This game's lore is something that seems quite interesting, but it also seems like half of the information is missing. So hopefully the sequel will fix that. I don't know when it's coming out, but it looks cool, so, you know, fingers crossed. I think overall, Anti-Clockwise is far from being a bad game. The foundation is clearly there, and the developer is definitely super talented, don't get me wrong. I just feel like it falls a little short in some areas. I personally would give Anti-Clockwise a 5 out of 10 on the mega meaty board of rating, whatever the fuck I called it. I don't know. I need an actual metric to judge these games. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.